Let's talk about social momentum. Imagine that you're sitting in your house after a long day of work and it's Friday night and you decided, I'm going to go out tonight, I'm going to meet some people, I'm going to socialize. Now, mind you, your job, it puts you in a kind of a logical headspace. You know, you've been having these conversations where it's basically just an information exchange with your coworkers, your colleagues all day. Now you're about to go out and socialize and switch into a headspace where you're communicating more emotionally. You put your clothes on, you don your gay apparel, and you head out to the nightclub. Now, when you first walk in there, it might be a little scary at first, to think about interacting with all these different people throughout the course of the evening. But by the end of the night, if you do it right, it'll feel completely natural to just introduce yourself to people by the end of the night. And this is where the concept of social momentum comes into play. Now, initially, when you enter a social environment, a venue, you might feel a certain inertia, a certain homeostasis. Your brain might resist the shift from that logical passive mode to a more outgoing, interactive, expressive one. And this resistance it's not necessarily about fear, but it's more about transitioning out of a comfortable state. In other words, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I feel fine right now. If I start talking to these people, I might not feel fine. I experienced this too. Even after 20 years of doing this, going out in the field, hitting it up, I will still feel a moment of reluctance to do that initial approach. And it's not really from anxiety per se anymore, but I understand it's simply because I'm transitioning from one mindset to another. It's a lot like getting into a cold pool, right? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Michael fucking Phelps. No matter how many times at 6 a.m. you've gotten to that cold pool, you're going to feel a little bit of reluctance to get in there. And you can't just dip your little tippy toe in and then get down with the balls. Ooh, oh, the nips. You can't do it bit by bit. You just got to cannonball your ass in there. You've got to make that initial plunge before the physical tension takes hold and paralyzes you into inaction. This is very important. I want you to remember this, okay? There's an inertia to action and there's an inertia to inaction. The longer that you stand around and don't do anything, it's going to be harder and harder to snap out of that. Now, the beauty of social momentum, though, is that once you actually start engaging and interacting with people, it does get a lot easier. And quite frankly, it gets a lot more fun. But it's all about taking that first step, like jumping into the cold pool. Initially, you're going to have that little shock. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But almost immediately, you adapt and you start enjoying the experience. The night will progress and you'll start to interact more and you'll start to build this social momentum. It's like a snowball effect. The more that you approach, the more that you engage, the more natural and fun it starts to become. But remember, the key is just to start. Don't worry about perfection or even good outcomes for that matter at the beginning. Like at the beginning of the night when you just go in there, just focus on the process of engaging, the process of interacting, and quite frankly, just enjoying the social environment. And this is how you build and maintain social momentum. And again, I'm very aware of my psychological tendencies to avoid state change by now. And I know that if I don't build momentum, it's very easy to get locked into a state where you can't take any action at all. So to combat this, I've developed a process that I use very consistently to attain that positive and engaging state, especially when I'm not naturally in that headspace. Okay, so this process, it's useful both at the start of the night and pretty much any time that you need a boost. Right? Like after an interaction that didn't go as well as you hoped, for example. So these steps that I'm about to list are a very tried and true method to get your head back in the game and ensure that you have a successful session, a successful night out. Step one, as soon as you enter the venue, you got 30 seconds to talk to somebody. Just engage with someone, with anyone. And this doesn't mean only those people that you're attracted to necessarily, but literally everyone around you, some random old guy, whatever. And simply have a quick, 20, 30-second conversation. Give your brain the proof, not the promises, that it needs to feel okay about introducing yourself to people. Because logically, you know that nothing bad's going to happen. And your brain, the part of your brain, this like monkey part of your brain that equates humiliation with death is like, don't do this, don't do this. And you're like trying to tell it logically, oh, it's going to be fine. Nothing bad's going to happen. But that midbrain's like, I don't want your little promises. Show me the proof. Show me the proof it's going to be okay. So that little 30-second conversation with the guy who works there about, hey, it's a good night here, blah, blah, blah. Is there any place else to go around? I'm from out of town. Whatever it is, that's going to give you the proof when subsequently you're not vaporized. And then you can continue. Step number 2 in the social momentum ladder is minimizing time between interactions. You want to keep your momentum going by minimizing downtime. The less time that you spend hesitating, the more you maintain a flow, the more you build confidence. So when you're out there, you want to really focus on hitting a rhythm, like go, 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 go. Not go and then you get a drink, or go and then talk to your friend for 5 minutes, or go and stand around. Like, no. Boom, 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 boom. Hit that rhythm. Your goal is to reach what I like to call the enthusiasm threshold, where you're not just indifferent about approaching, but you're actually excited about doing the next one. Like, all right, what's next? What's next? When I get into that state, I won't even want to get a drink. I'll be like, that's like a waste of time. I'll have to stand there and, holler the person down and then do the money. Like, it's a waste of time. I want to go. So to achieve this state, it's very important to keep that pace up. Imagine it like some video game where you got to like hit a certain power level and you got to hit the buttons rapidly to like build to that threshold, right? But if you don't hit it, if you slow down, it like drops rapidly. But once you're in the zone, boom, you maintain that energy, you maintain your enthusiasm. So again, you want to keep moving from one interaction to the next, no breaks. Lingering too long in the aftermath of the approach, having these lengthy, unrelated conversations with your buddy, taking these timeouts, it disrupts the social rhythm. Again, you want to hit that nice rhythm, boom, boom, boom. Number 3, don't judge yourself. Every interaction is going to be a learning experience, like point blank period. It's not some referendum on your value as a human being, okay? A lot of people, they'll come out of an interaction where the person didn't respond favorably, let's just say, and they'll be really down on themselves. They'll be like, wah, wah, wah. And it just becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. Like they go into what I call a shame spiral. And they're like circling the drain of despair. Their night just goes down, 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 down. So instead of berating yourself, acknowledge not every interaction is going to go perfectly. And that's totally fine. Remember, there's an element of randomness when you're talking to people that you don't know. You don't know. They could just be in a place where no matter what you said, they ain't in the mood. It could be their cat died like that afternoon. Like you just don't know. So it's not necessarily a referendum about you. Now remember though, just the act of engaging in a cold approach sets you apart. Like most people never venture beyond their comfort zones or their immediate social circle. They go out with the same people every weekend. They go home with the same people, da-da-da-da-da-da. By stepping up and initiating conversations with strangers, you're already showing a level of bravery and social initiative that's extremely rare. Recognize that. Every approach you use 100 out of 10. Just by virtue of the fact that you did it. So when you walk away from an interaction, I want you to resist the urge to dissect it and take it apart negatively. Like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. I mean, there's a time and a place for that, but it's not when you're out there, right? Instead, just focus on the fact that you made the approach and you're one step closer to becoming socially skilled or more socially skilled. It's about growth. It's about learning. It's not about your batting average of success or failure. If you go out and you execute the steps that I've talked about in this video, you're going to be able to hit that state of social momentum very, very consistently. No matter where you were that day, no matter how logical your job was that afternoon, you're going to be able to bridge that gap, make that shift in spite of that homeostasis that's telling you, I feel fine now. If I go and start talking to people, I might not feel fine. But it's all about putting systems in place. It's becoming aware of the predilections that you might have and how your energy system works and how your psychology works. You know that you're going to go into that state where you're locked down if you don't do something. And if you know when you go out there, you have this tendency to get stifled, well, then you can put systems in place like this to ensure that you cross that gap and get to a place where you're actually enthusiastic, you're enjoying it. And then, of course, that's going to make your results much, much better. On my live boot camps, I'll show you how to do this stuff in person. I'll demonstrate it for you. I'll push you. I'll inspire you. I'll give you all the feedback you need to fill those little holes and gaps of understanding and knowledge so you can get those gangster rockstar results very, very quickly. So link for those programs is in the description. This has been Jeffy, and I'll see you next time.
Coming into the program, there were like 3 areas I was trying to focus on. There was leading in relationships, being able to handle conflict, and being able to show intent. Taking the time and going through the program, the exercises, it's like, even at the most basic level, I'm not actually doing what I think I'm doing. And then coming up with a clear plan to exercise it has been really helpful. Conflict management was a huge point for me, and then continue to build leadership too. During this program, I got promoted in my job as well. If you asked me 8 weeks ago, do you want to public speak at work? I would have been like, absolutely not. Like, how can I do my best to avoid it? And then now it's been a lot more like, how can I use my voice better this time? How can I be more confident, release any tension? So it's almost like an opportunity to exercise what we've been learning. Just plenty of social opportunities to just exercise what we've been learning now.